The Road Freight Association has slammed Transnet's recent application for increased tariffs. For the financial year 2025-2026, Transnet has asked for a number of tariff hikes ranging from 4.57% to 7.9%. The RFA says this makes no sense given that the logistics company has a long way to go to improve its efficiency levels. Well, to tell us about some of the challenges from their perspective, I'm joined by Gavin Kelly. He's the CEO of the Road Freight Association. Gavin, thank you very much for joining us. So just take us through some of the tariff increases Transnet's looking for next year, and why in principle you have an issue with this.
Well, good afternoon, Nampu, and good afternoon to your viewers. One of the tariffs that they want to increase is a tariff fee for handling. And that's one of the very things that we're struggling with. If we look at figures right now, the Pier 2 is still not doing what it needs to do. They say they've had a 23 to 25% improvement on their efficiencies, and that we just don't see happening. Our members, the transporters who move containers in and out of the Port of Durban, are standing in queues. We are getting updates right now, and Transnet is acknowledging that they've got a straddle carrier availability problem. So what we are saying is, before you start charging any more tariffs for handling, make sure that you get the equipment that you have at the port serviced, maintained, and doing what it needs to do, because we need to get cargo moving through those ports.
Yeah. So when it comes to the trucking industry's experience of collecting and taking product to the ports, what's that experience like, and are delays in those processes commonplace? And I see that in the statement that you issued, you've highlighted that the Durban container terminal is the worst.
It is the worst in our ports. Unfortunately, it is also the most busiest, so I suppose the challenges will be larger than other ports. But truckers will tell you that at the Port of Durban, over the last 10 years, the queues have got longer, the delays have got longer, the equipment serviceability in terms of numbers of cranes and or rubber tire gantries that are available have dropped. And that is the reason why over the last couple of years we've pushed for private enterprise to get involved, to assist Transnet in making sure that the cargo imports and exports flows efficiently and quickly through that port.
So you indicate that there's now a new regulator who will be charged with looking at Transnet's tariff application. If you had the opportunity to make a submission, what would your contribution be?
Well, that new regulator is called the Transport Economic Regulator. That bill was signed into law, became an act a couple of months ago. And the first thing we would say to them would be, whatever increases would be coming, and the expenditure that this SOE, the state-owned enterprise, wants to then spend must be on ensuring that the equipment is serviceable, that there is backup equipment, that the maintenance is done properly so that cargo keeps moving. That is the priority.
So we keep on hearing different narratives. We keep on hearing that there's some improvement in the logistics space, that is at Transnet, and then we're hearing from you that things are not so lekker. So it's difficult to know what the situation really is. So since the joint initiatives between the private sector and government that you alluded to, are you saying that there hasn't been any improvement at Transnet at all?
No, that's not what we're saying, Nampu. There's been improvement, but TPT is saying it's had a 23% success rate in terms of the booking, the system to get trucks in and out, and that there has been an improvement. We're saying that's not true. We're saying you constantly give us information that you've got equipment problems, and we're saying, well, let us help you with that. It was one of the reasons why we've been pushing this private partnership, getting a private company in to run the actual operations of that pier.
So, Gavin, ultimately, what is it that you want Transnet to do more of? Where does it need to improve? You've highlighted the areas thus far, but broadly speaking, where do they need to improve in order for us to see that material difference in the next few months or so?
Well, the first improvement, Nampu, is going to be getting the trucks in and out of that port quickly. So evacuating the port as quickly as possible. It's a fancy term for getting the containers out of the port. And there are one of two ways of doing that. The one is to actually, once the containers come off the ship, move them out of the port precinct to another area where the trucks can then quite freely move in and out, when I say freely, through a different system. Or it's going to be using a far better system up to Cater Ridge to clear the port. So that's what we've got to focus on first. Equipment to get containers off ships, onto trucks and out of the port, and then, of course, the exports the other way around.
And one last thing, it's really an equipment issue, not necessarily a personnel issue. They have enough personnel.
Well, they have enough personnel. We're not quite sure. We know the unions are not very, very happy with this tender that was called for. So I'm sure there might still be some personnel challenges.
All right, Gavin, thank you so much for enlightening us on this particular issue. That was Gavin Kelly. He's the CEO of the Road Freight Association.